The Witchcraft mystery. Vanished in the Bermuda Triangle. The Devil's Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle. The Devil's Triangle. 500,000 square miles of Atlantic Ocean stretching from Florida to Bermuda to Puerto Rico, where ships and planes have mysteriously vanished without a trace, where compasses spin wildly, where the laws of nature seem to bend and break. Or so the legends say. Since Christopher Columbus sailed through these waters in 1492 and reported seeing strange lights and erratic compass readings, the region has been shrouded in mystery and fear. Spanish sailors told tales of unpredictable hurricanes and deadly calms. British mariners warned of the treacherous reefs around Bermuda. By the 20th century, the disappearances of massive cargo ships like the USS Cyclops in 1918 and the vanishing of 5 Navy bombers known as Flight 19 in 1945 had cemented the area's sinister reputation. But of all the strange disappearances attributed to the Bermuda Triangle, and there are dozens, none is more baffling, more frustrating, or more haunting than what happened on the evening of December 22, 1967, when a luxury cabin cruiser called the Witchcraft vanished less than 1 mile from Miami's shore. This is the true story of that disappearance, a mystery that remains unsolved nearly 60 years later, a case that defies every rational explanation, and an event that continues to fuel speculation about whether something truly strange lurks in these waters. December 22, 1967. A perfect evening. The evening began with the kind of simple pleasure that defines Florida life. 2 friends deciding to take a short cruise to view the Christmas lights. Daniel Berwick was a successful hotel owner, a man who had made his fortune in the hospitality industry. He had owned the prestigious Galen Hall Resort in Pennsylvania before moving to Miami, where he now lived in luxury on Sunset Island No. 4, a private enclave in Biscayne Bay. His waterfront home at 2135 Lake Avenue afforded him direct access to the water, and his pride and joy was docked right outside, a 23-foot cabin cruiser he had named Witchcraft. The Witchcraft was no ordinary boat. Berwick had spared no expense in equipping her. She was a twin-engine inboard cruiser with straight-drive propulsion. Powerful, modern, and reliable. Most importantly, she was equipped with special flotation devices that made her virtually unsinkable. Even if the hull were breached and flooded, the built-in flotation would keep her on the surface. Berwick, a seasoned yachtsman who had spent years on the water, was meticulous about safety. The boat carried life jackets, flares, emergency supplies, and all the required Coast Guard safety equipment. That evening, Berwick invited his friend Father Patrick Horgan to join him for a short cruise. Father Horgan, 34 years old, was a priest at St. George's Catholic Church in Fort Lauderdale. The 2 men had become friends, and Berwick wanted to share with him one of Miami's most beautiful sights, the city's spectacular Christmas lights as viewed from the water. The plan was simple and safe. Motor out about a mile to buoy No. 7, just offshore from Miami, cut the engines, and enjoy the view of the illuminated city skyline. They would be back within an hour or 2. It wasn't a fishing trip or a long voyage, just a pleasant evening cruise in calm waters close to shore. The weather was perfect. The sea was calm, barely stirring. Visibility was excellent. The sky was clear. There were no storm warnings, no advisories, nothing to suggest any danger whatsoever. It was, by all accounts, an ideal night to be on the water. At approximately 9 p.m., the Witchcraft departed from Berwick's private dock. They motored north up the lake, the local name for the waterway, then headed west through the channel separating the Sunset Islands before turning south toward Government Cut and their destination at buoy No. 7. Neither man had any reason to think this would be anything other than a routine, pleasant outing. They were wrong. 9 p.m., the call. At exactly 9 p.m., likely just minutes after departing, given the short distance they needed to travel, the Coast Guard Rescue Coordination Center, RCC, in Miami received a radio call from Daniel Berwick. The dispatcher who took the call would later report that Berwick's voice was completely calm, composed, and unhurried. There was no panic, no distress, no indication of any serious problem. Berwick explained that the Witchcraft appeared to have struck something in the water, possibly a submerged object or debris. He believed the rudder or propeller might have been damaged, but he emphasized clearly and repeatedly, this was not an emergency. No one was hurt. The boat was not taking on water. The hull appeared intact. They simply needed a tow back to the marina. Berwick said he would fire a flare to help the Coast Guard locate them more easily. The RCC dispatchers were not overly concerned. This was a routine call, the kind they received regularly in busy Miami waters. A boat had hit something, needed minor assistance, and would be towed back to port. They immediately dispatched a Coast Guard patrol boat to buoy number 7, less than 1 mile offshore. The patrol boat, operating from a nearby Coast Guard station, could cover that distance quickly. The seas were calm. The location was precise. This should have been a simple, straightforward rescue operation, if you could even call it a rescue. More like a roadside assistance call on the water. The Coast Guard vessel made its way through the calm waters toward buoy number 7. The crew scanned the horizon for the Witchcraft's navigation lights or for the flare Berwick had promised to fire. The area was well lit from the Miami shoreline, making visibility good despite the darkness. At 9:19 p.m., exactly 19 minutes after receiving Berwick's call, the Coast Guard patrol boat arrived at buoy number 7. The Witchcraft was not there. At first, the Coast Guard crew thought they might have the wrong location, or perhaps the boat had drifted slightly. They began searching the immediate area, calling out on the radio, scanning with spotlights. Nothing. No boat. No lights. No flare. No debris. No oil slick. No life jackets floating in the water. No people calling for help. It was as if the Witchcraft had never existed. The search begins. The Coast Guard crew was baffled. 19 minutes. That's all the time that had elapsed. How could a boat simply vanish in 19 minutes from a location less than a mile from shore, in calm seas, with no storm, no fog, no adverse conditions whatsoever? They expanded their search pattern, circling outward from buoy number 7. They called repeatedly on all radio channels. They fired flares of their own, hoping to elicit a response. Still nothing. As the minutes ticked by and turned into hours with no sign of the Witchcraft, the Coast Guard began to realize this was no ordinary situation. At midnight, they upgraded the search to a full-scale emergency operation. By dawn on December 23rd, dozens of vessels were involved in the search. Coast Guard cutters and patrol boats, Navy ships, private vessels that had heard the radio alerts, and Civil Air Patrol planes all scoured the waters off Miami. The search area rapidly expanded from the original location at buoy number 7 to a radius of hundreds of square miles. They searched northward toward the Gulf Stream, the powerful ocean current that flows through the area. They searched southward along the coast. They searched eastward into deeper water. Every boat captain within 50 miles had been alerted to watch for any sign of the Witchcraft, her crew, or debris. The search continued for 6 full days. Aircraft flew grid patterns over the ocean. Ships dragged the bottom with sonar. Divers checked underwater obstacles and reefs. The Coast Guard examined every piece of floating debris that was reported, hoping to find some clue. By the time the search was suspended on December 28, 1967, they had covered an astounding 24,500 square miles of ocean. They found absolutely nothing. Not a single life jacket. Not a cushion. Not a piece of hull. Not an oil slick. Not a body. Not the smallest scrap of debris that could be identified as coming from the Witchcraft. Daniel Berwick and Father Patrick Horgan had vanished as completely and mysteriously as if they had been plucked from the ocean by invisible hands. The impossible circumstances. What made the disappearance of the Witchcraft so particularly mystifying and so unsettling were the circumstances that should have made it impossible. The distance. They were less than 1 mile from shore. On a clear night like December 22nd, they could see the Miami skyline. They could see the Christmas lights they had come to view. If something catastrophic had happened, if the boat had exploded or suddenly sunk, they could have swum to shore. Father Horgan was young and fit. Berwick was an experienced yachtsman. The distance was entirely swimmable. The time window. Only 19 minutes elapsed between Berwick's calm radio call and the Coast Guard's arrival. What could possibly happen in 19 minutes to make a boat and 2 men vanish so completely? Even if the Witchcraft had somehow sunk immediately after Berwick's call, which made no sense given his calm demeanor and statement that there was no emergency, the boat's special flotation devices should have kept it on the surface. And even if it had sunk, where was the debris field? Where were the life jackets? Where was the oil slick from the engines? The sea conditions. The ocean was calm. There were no storms, no unusual waves, no adverse weather. This wasn't a case of a boat being overwhelmed by mountainous seas or hurricane-force winds. The Witchcraft disappeared in conditions that were nearly ideal. The unsinkable design. The boat was specifically engineered with built-in flotation devices. This wasn't a claim or advertising. It was actual installed equipment designed to make the vessel impossible to sink. Even if the hull were completely breached and filled with water, the flotation chambers should have kept at least part of the structure on the surface. The Coast Guard would have found it floating, even if partially submerged. The complete absence of debris. This was perhaps the most inexplicable aspect. When boats sink, they leave evidence. Oil spreads on the surface. Life jackets float. Cushions, coolers, gear, something always floats. Pieces of hull can break off and rise to the surface days later. But the Witchcraft left nothing. The ocean was as clean as if the boat had never been there. The proximity to a major city. This wasn't the remote ocean. It was right off Miami, one of the busiest coastal cities in the United States. There were other boats in the area. There were people on shore. There were buildings with windows facing the water. If there had been an explosion, someone would have seen it or heard it. If there had been a collision with another vessel, that vessel would have noticed. If there had been any kind of dramatic event, there would have been witnesses. Coast Guard investigators were stumped. Their official report concluded that the disappearance was unexplained, but privately, many officials admitted they had no rational explanation whatsoever. One Coast Guard officer was quoted as saying, "Perhaps only boy number 7 holds the secret." Theories and speculation. In the absence of evidence, theories multiplied. Some were prosaic and logical. Others ventured into the bizarre and supernatural. Nearly 60 years later, none has been proven. Theory 1. Sudden catastrophic sinking. Some investigators suggested that despite the flotation devices, the Witchcraft somehow sank rapidly and completely. Perhaps the collision Berwick reported had torn a massive hole in the hull, far worse than he realized. Perhaps both engines fell through the bottom, dragging the boat down before the flotation could compensate. But this theory had serious problems. First, Berwick was an experienced boatman who would have recognized a catastrophic breach. Second, even a rapid sinking would have left debris. Third, the water at buoy number 7 was only about 70 feet deep. Not impossible for divers to search, and the Coast Guard did search the bottom. They found nothing. Theory 2. Hit by another vessel. Perhaps another boat, a larger vessel that didn't notice the collision, struck the Witchcraft after Berwick's radio call, smashing it to pieces and killing both men instantly before they could call for help again. But this raised questions. Why didn't Berwick see the approaching vessel and call for help? Why didn't anyone else see or report such a collision? And again, where was the debris? Theory 3. Methane bubble. Some have suggested that the Witchcraft was struck by a methane bubble rising from the ocean floor, a phenomenon where trapped methane gas erupts from underwater deposits, creating a froth of bubbles that can supposedly cause ships to lose buoyancy and sink instantly. This theory has been proposed for several Bermuda Triangle disappearances, but scientists are skeptical. While methane deposits do exist on the ocean floor, there's little evidence that they can erupt in bubbles large enough to sink ships, and certainly not in the shallow waters off Miami. Moreover, such an eruption would leave evidence: disturbed water, gas smell, chemical traces. Theory 4. Rogue wave. Could a freak wave, a massive, unexpected swell, have struck the Witchcraft, capsizing it and drowning both men before they could react? But the seas were calm. There were no storms generating waves. And even if such a wave existed, it wouldn't explain the complete absence of floating debris. Capsized boats leave evidence. Theory 5. Underwater sinkhole or vortex. Some have theorized about underwater currents, whirlpools, or even sinkholes that could drag a boat underwater. The Bermuda Triangle region does have strong currents, including the Gulf Stream. However, experienced oceanographers dismiss this. Currents don't create vortexes that can suck down boats. And buoy number 7 was in well-mapped, shallow water with no such hazards. Theory 6. Criminal activity. This is actually one of the more plausible theories, though it remains unproven. In 1967, Miami was experiencing a wave of crime, including robberies targeting wealthy residents. Daniel Berwick was a rich man who lived in an exclusive area and owned a luxury boat. Some family members suggested that Berwick might have been the target of criminals who boarded the boat, killed him and Father Horgan, and then scuttled or removed the vessel to hide the evidence. The radio call might have been made under duress, with Berwick forced to give a false story about hitting something. This would explain the disappearance, but it raises its own questions. How did criminals get to the boat so quickly? How did they remove or sink it so completely in such a short time? And if it was crime, why has no evidence ever emerged? Criminals talk, accomplices turn on each other. Bodies eventually surface. Theory 7. The supernatural. Of course, the Bermuda Triangle's reputation meant that more exotic explanations were inevitable. Alien abduction, time warps, portals to other dimensions, underwater UFO bases, magnetic anomalies that can disintegrate matter, energy fields from the lost city of Atlantis. These theories captivated the public imagination, especially after Charles Berlitz's 1974 bestseller The Bermuda Triangle popularized such speculation. The Witchcraft became a centerpiece of Bermuda Triangle mythology, proof, believers said, that something beyond normal physics was at work in these waters. Skeptics, however, point out that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and there is none. The Bermuda Triangle, when examined statistically, does not have a higher rate of disappearances than any other heavily traveled ocean region. Many supposed mysteries have prosaic explanations when properly investigated. Theory 8. The boat was found. Decades after the disappearance, a spear fisherman came forward with a tantalizing claim. In the 1970s, he had found a sunken boat matching the Witchcraft's description lying upside down in approximately 70 feet of water off Haulover Inlet, just north of Miami. The boat had a large hole in the hull, roughly 18 inches high by 36 inches long. He remembered it was a twin-engine inboard with straight drives because he tried unsuccessfully to remove the propellers. If true, this would solve the mystery. The Witchcraft hit something much worse than Berwick realized, flooded, and sank despite the flotation devices. The current carried it northward, explaining why it wasn't found at buoy number 7. But the fisherman later backtracked, saying he might have been mistaken, and that the boat could have been another vessel called Tomorrow 2 or similar. After 50 years, his memory was uncertain. No one has definitively located and identified the wreck, so this lead remains unverified. The aftermath. The disappearance of Daniel Berwick and Father Patrick Horgan devastated their families and communities. Father Horgan was mourned by his congregation at St. George's Catholic Church. He had been a young, dedicated priest with his whole career ahead of him. His loss was deeply felt by those who knew him. For Daniel Berwick's family, the disappearance was particularly agonizing because of its inexplicability. Without a body, without answers, without even the smallest piece of evidence, there was no closure. His father, Emmanuel Berwick, had built a hotel empire. His son Daniel had continued that legacy. Now he was simply gone, vanished into the ocean a mile from his own home. The Coast Guard officially closed the case, but classified it as unexplained rather than solved. In their files, the Witchcraft remains one of the most puzzling maritime disappearances in U.S. history. The case has been featured in numerous books, documentaries, and television programs about the Bermuda Triangle. In 2020, the Science Channel series Curse of the Bermuda Triangle devoted an episode to the Witchcraft, claiming to have new leads and conducting an expedition to search for the wreck. They found a promising target on sonar that could be the missing boat, but definitive identification remained elusive. Over the decades, the Witchcraft has become emblematic of the Bermuda Triangle mystery itself, a disappearance so baffling, so lacking in evidence, so seemingly impossible, that it defies conventional explanation. The skeptical view. Not everyone believes the Witchcraft's disappearance is mysterious. Lawrence David Cush, a research librarian and pilot, spent years investigating Bermuda Triangle cases for his 1975 book The Bermuda Triangle Mystery, Solved. His research revealed that many supposed triangle disappearances had prosaic explanations that had been overlooked or deliberately ignored by sensationalist writers. Ships that supposedly vanished in the triangle had actually sunk in storms in completely different parts of the ocean. Aircraft that went missing were often flying in bad weather despite claims of calm conditions. Boats that disappeared without a trace had later been found. The legendary derelict ship Mary Celeste, often cited as a triangle mystery, actually wasn't even in the Bermuda Triangle when it was found abandoned. Cush found that writers like Charles Berlitz had systematically distorted facts, omitted crucial information, and sometimes outright fabricated details to make disappearances seem more mysterious than they were. However, even Cush, a committed skeptic who debunked dozens of triangle myths, admitted that the Witchcraft case was genuinely strange. Unlike many other stories, the basic facts appeared accurate. The boat did disappear in a very short time window, very close to shore, in good conditions, and was never found despite an intensive search. Cush suggested the most likely explanation was that the collision Berwick reported was far more catastrophic than he realized, causing rapid flooding and sinking, with all debris either sinking with the boat or being carried away by currents. But even he acknowledged this didn't fully explain the complete absence of evidence. The U.S. Coast Guard, NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and other official agencies maintain that the Bermuda Triangle is not particularly dangerous. Statistics show that disappearances occur at the same rate as in any other heavily traveled ocean region. Most incidents have rational explanations involving weather, human error, mechanical failure, or simply the inherent dangers of the sea. As Lieutenant A.L. Russell of the Coast Guard wrote in official responses to triangle inquiries, "It has been our experience that the combined forces of nature and the unpredictability of mankind outdo science fiction stories many times each year." The enduring mystery. Nearly 60 years after that December evening, the fate of the Witchcraft, Daniel Berwick, and Father Patrick Horgan remains unknown. Somewhere in the Atlantic, perhaps buried under sand in shallow water off Miami, perhaps carried by currents to deeper ocean, perhaps broken up so completely that nothing identifiable remains, the answer may still exist. Or perhaps the ocean, as it so often does, has swallowed its secret completely. What we're left with are questions. What did Berwick's boat really hit? Was it much worse than he realized? Why did the flotation devices fail, if they did fail? Where is the debris that should have been left behind? Were they victims of the ocean's random chaos, or was something more deliberate at work? Is there a wreck sitting undiscovered on the seafloor, waiting to be found? For believers in the Bermuda Triangle mystery, the Witchcraft represents proof that something unexplainable happens in these waters, that the normal rules don't always apply, that boats and planes and people can simply vanish as if erased from existence. For skeptics, it's a tragic reminder that the ocean is a dangerous, unpredictable environment where bad luck, hidden hazards, and random chance can create seemingly impossible outcomes. For the families who lost loved ones that night, it remains a wound that never fully healed, a loss without explanation, without closure, without even the comfort of knowing what happened. The ocean's secrets. The Bermuda Triangle continues to capture imaginations worldwide, even as scientists work to demystify it. Modern technology, satellite tracking, GPS, advanced weather forecasting, better boat and aircraft design, has made the region far safer than it was in 1967. Yet boats still occasionally disappear. Planes still sometimes vanish. And when they do, the old stories resurface, the old theories get dusted off, and people wonder, is there really something strange about these waters? The most likely answer is no. The Bermuda Triangle is simply a large, heavily traveled section of ocean subject to hurricanes, strong currents, deep trenches, and heavy traffic. Statistically, things will go wrong. People will get lost. Ships will sink. And sometimes, rarely, but sometimes, the circumstances will be strange enough to seem inexplicable. But the Witchcraft case remains stubbornly resistant to easy explanation. Too many things about it don't add up. Too many questions have no satisfactory answers. Maybe someday, a diver will discover a wreck off Miami and finally solve the mystery. Maybe new evidence will emerge. Maybe someone with information will finally come forward. Or maybe the Witchcraft will remain forever what it is now, one of the sea's unsolved mysteries, a story without an ending, a question without an answer. On clear December evenings in Miami, when the Christmas lights sparkle on the water and pleasure boats cruise near buoy number 7, some people still think about Daniel Berwick and Father Patrick Horgan, two men who set out for a simple hour's cruise to enjoy the lights. They never came back. And no one knows why. The ocean keeps its secrets well. Description: the true mystery of the Witchcraft, one of the most baffling disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle's history. This real case from December 22, 1967, involves a luxury cabin cruiser that vanished just 1 mile from Miami in 19 minutes. Perfect weather conditions and calm seas. A boat designed to be unsinkable with special flotation devices. Hotel magnate Daniel Berwick and Father Patrick Horgan, who went out to view Christmas lights. A calm radio call reporting minor damage, followed by complete disappearance. An extensive 6-day search covering 24,500 square miles that found absolutely nothing. No debris, no bodies, no wreckage. Multiple theories from mundane, catastrophic sinking, to criminal, robbery, murder, to supernatural, Bermuda Triangle phenomena. The story is structured with time estimates totaling approximately 60 minutes. It presents both the mystery angle that made the Bermuda Triangle famous and the skeptical scientific perspective, while acknowledging that this particular case remains genuinely unexplained even by researchers who debunked most triangle myths. This is one of the most frustrating maritime mysteries because of how close to shore it happened and how completely the boat and men vanished. If you liked the fisherman's story, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and share this story with your friends.